Okay, so now we're gonna have a little fun.
Okay.
So we're gonna do.
Should I have a sip of my wine now? It's fun time.
I think I will too.
Okay.
So, Hadley, thank you so much. It's so great to see you again.
You too.
And for coming to visit me at the Walker Zanger showroom here in New York.
It's a great place to be.
Yes, it is, and not too far from the Condé Nast offices.
Not too far at all. Right off the subway.
So, as digital design reporter for Architectural Digest, tell me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so my job, mainly what I think the broad overview is, I focus on design news. And so I cover, happenings in the design world. That could be from collection launches to new store openings to more kind of business side things like mergers of companies, people moving from one company to the other. And then over the course of the past year, I've been working on a new vertical on AD's site called AD Pro that's geared towards professionals in the industry, who obviously are the ones who are interested in that design news and kind of inside industry happenings. So that's been really fun. So I think my day is kind of a mix of being at my desk and writing and editing stories, and being out and being at fairs or openings and kind of finding the stories to write about.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. So, as you know, what we want to sort of pick your brain about today and get your insight on is the PR profession and how we as PR professionals work with the media.
Right.
And we know that it is a sort of a give and get from both directions.
Of course.
And given the changes in sort of human behavior and technology, we wanted to actually sit down and talk about what today, how is the best way to reach you, and how can we as PR professionals better serve your needs. So one of the things I'm super excited about is you have worked on the print side, sort of that more traditional side, and now you're on the digital side. So share with me a little bit about your insight on, well, first everybody's like, print's dead. Obviously, it's not dead. So, yeah, give me a little insight there, because you guys are really merging the two.
Definitely. I think it's exciting because, the way I see it is, and obviously I think we're in a field where we're lucky, designers, it's still a very kind of tactile experience. They like having that magazine, being able to see it and touch it and rip pages out and put them on mood boards. And I think what we've realized over the past few years as we've grown the site and digital has become a bigger component is just that there are very different opportunities for each, right? And so you're still gonna have those kind of beautiful spreads, that amazing photography in the magazine, great styled things, that access that you get in the home tours. And then, we're able to have this other outlet for things like news. No one gets their news from a monthly magazine anymore because our world just works faster that way, right? So if you want to see something that's launching today, you can get that in your daily visit to ad.com. And the other thing that's exciting with digital is that we have a little bit more flexibility. So we're not, constrained by page count or layout. If we have an interview that goes really well, it can be 5,000 words. If the interview doesn't go well, the story can be 500 words. And we are able to kind of play around and experiment a little with that. So I think that makes it exciting for us. It also makes it exciting for the PR world, because there are a lot more different opportunities for types of content to pitch and ways to kind of work together.
We certainly do enjoy and appreciate that. That's for sure. So when a PR person is wanting to pitch a story, again, going back to the print side, how do you prefer to be contacted? And then how is that different on the digital side?
I don't know if there's such a difference in how we receive it. I will say that I think because the print stories are more long lead, then there's maybe more benefit in, and also those print editors are maybe gonna have more time to go and have an in-person meeting and walk around a showroom, maybe even if it's not for an immediate story, that you're gonna kind of build that relationship. If it's about a project that's down the line, you're gonna say, here's the sneak peek and we'll keep you posted as it happens for 6 months. With digital, we are moving at a fast pace and we are doing a lot every day. And so really kind of having that ready to go, well when you send it, and having the information and being able to say, here it is, here's all the information, photography if necessary. The other thing that I think is important to realize about digital is like, there's just less kind of finagling that goes into it. For a print piece, you can pitch a single product that's new, and that can go in someplace into a story. You can pitch even just a person, and you'll figure out kind of how to cover that. For digital, packaging is super important.
Okay.
And so just saying to us, there are 5 new styles from this company is kind of, what's the story there? There's not, and obviously we're the ones who are making the story, but when pitching, it's really helpful to have an angle. So as a digital editor, getting pitched, here's a new sofa, isn't super helpful. I'm not gonna just put a sofa online with no context, whereas you can do that kind of in the magazine. So to instead say, here's the sofa and it's made by this new company whose founder does X or whatever, to have a little bit of context around it so that we can conceptualize a package that relates to it.
How much photography and how much do you guys do on the digital side and then use yourself versus what the PR professional sends you?
It really depends. I think probably at AD we do more original photography than probably other websites do. If we're doing, a home tour or a studio visit or something of that nature, we're usually going to want to shoot it ourselves. If it's something that's, first of all, if it's a quick timeline, like you're pitching me a store that's opening tomorrow, we want to have those photos on hand. If it's more product related, more about a company, I think we generally like to have the option of having some sort of photography.
Right.
But yeah, we definitely, I think it's more the kind of, I don't know, maybe just more in-depth features that we tend to shoot ourselves. And for more kind of newsy things, we'd like to have photography provided.
Obviously, you're in sort of that storytelling business. We're in the storytelling business. Do you see that as a lost art from kind of the PR perspective?
God. I would like to think no. I mean, do you mean lost art in that like people are too impatient to read stories anymore, or
no?
How?
I think a good story is what people want.
I agree.
So, you were talking about sort of packaging it,
Right.
package me something,
Yes.
the why.
But that's about the story,
Yes,
right?
exactly. So are you seeing that happening less as you're getting pitch stories, more?
I think actually the opposite. I think people are getting wise to it. And even it used to be the case when I first started at AD that it would kind of be, oh, this didn't fit in print, let's put it on digital. And it would get like, I guess, a stack of papers on my desk, like these are gonna go online. Okay, but how? What's the story? How does this fit into a larger trend, report? Is this a spotlight on a certain maker? How do we actually conceptualize this? And I think now, people do realize that you need to have that, you need to have the package with it.
Right. So speaking of the package, what is your preference with regard, you're getting a pitch, how do you want people to contact you?
I want them to email me, and I won't be offended if they email me again because I get a lot of emails, and so sometimes if I don't respond.
How many emails do you think?
Like thousands and thousands, I don't know, so many. I leave my desk for 15 minutes and there are 65 new ones, so a lot, and we get a lot of pitches, right? And we get pitches from great people, and then we get random things that are not relevant, and I think that ties into what I think is the absolute most important thing for someone pitching is to do your research, because nothing bothers me more than when I get a pitch for like, I don't know, a dog collar, and then get follow up, and it's like, hello, look at my magazine, we don't cover that. That's why I'm not answering you, I'm not being rude. But I think on the flip side of that, if you, I am of the opinion, I do think as long as you've done your research and it's relevant, my coworkers I have heard say the same, that I would rather receive too many emails and say to you, that's not a fit, than have you not pitch something because, oh no, we just pitched this thing last week. We like to know what's going on, and not everything will work, and then we hope, by that same token, that people will understand when we say this one isn't a fit, but keep us posted, or even maybe we have that in the back of our mind because down the line we realize we've seen 3 similar things, so there's a trend story. So I think that's important. I also think what's really important is making the content of the email or the pitch clear within The email, I mean, I think like get right to the point of what it is in the beginning, in the subject line of the email. You know, when we're going through so many things a day, it's hard to have an email that's a subject line like, hey, catching up, how are you? And inside is 5 different ideas that are kind of maybe related or maybe not. So I think having that clear, you know, doing the research and having the clear presentation of what's new or what's noteworthy about what you're sharing is important.
Right. So is your preference sort of, you know, obviously the who, what, why, where, the who cares, really?
Right, exactly.
And then a news release sort of formally pulled together?
I'm always down to have a formal press release. We also, I mean, for AD personally, I know this is what everyone wants, so you can't do this for everyone, but we love to hear the news first. So if you can say, and even make that clear in the very beginning, we're sending this to you first, you can have the first announcement, here's the info, and hold off on sending to other outlets until we say yes. That's obviously always ideal. But I also think there have been times when people say that kind of at the end of an email, and then I take a while to respond, and I realize, oh, wait, they've been waiting on this. So same thing, just kind of making that very
the most
clear.
Important information.
Don't bury the lead.
Yeah, exactly. Go figure. So you prefer email?
Yes, I do. And I have to say, sometimes I maybe this is like I hate the term, but the millennial in me, but the phone, I love talking through something on the phone, and if someone has an idea that's hard to explain, like I always pick up my phone and I appreciate that, but sometimes I feel a little like bad if it's an email that I just missed and then someone calls me to follow up, you know, the next day and I didn't see it, and then I feel guilty that I'm picking up the phone, I don't know what they're talking about. So I personally would, prefer the email follow-up, definitely.
Okay. How often should a PR person follow up with you? So they've sent you an email. How often? Before it's like stalking.
I think no more than twice. I really tried to respond to all my emails, but frankly, I can't. And the hard truth is if you've emailed and then followed up 2 times, therefore emailing me 3 times, the truth is it's probably because it's not a fit. And so
there's
we're
your
not
answer.
Responding. Yeah, exactly. And then sometimes you get into the territory where it's like, why haven't you answered? And you're kind of like, well, take a hint. It's because it's not right.
What is the most creative pitch you've ever received?
Oh my God. Well, I have to say, I think there are some like points for creativity, but not great pitches. But I don't know. Like talking about the best ones, I think this is hard because it is simple. It's like the best ones are ones that like present us something that is new and hasn't been covered and have the information in them, and that's not necessarily like super creative.
Right.
And then on the flip side, I think there is, I was just talking about this to someone recently, a fine line between kind of doing your research and finding an angle and basically trying to kind of like write the story for the editor. That's my job. And one of the things that I don't like is when, and I guess maybe this is gonna be your next question, which is the bad pitches, is when someone pitches trying to basically formulate an entire story with like all of their clients, or in a way in which it seems like kind of an inauthentic story. And I've had pitches that are, you know, here's this idea for a story you should do on this topic of, you know, pioneering women in design, and these are the 3 women you would talk to, and it's kind of like, what's the ulterior motive here?
Perfect.
I would pick the 3 women if I wanted to do that story. I would reach out to all those women on my own. So it's because they're all sponsored by this XYZ. And so I think you want to be upfront and honest if it's like, you know, if it's trying to get your client in a story, like we want to get your client in a story in a way that spotlights them, not like slyly behind the guise of, you know, a story that isn't quite what you're talking about.
Authenticity and sort of being forthright is key.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So number 1 pet peeve regarding PR professionals.
Okay. Well, I already said do your research, but honestly, I think number 1 pet peeve, and it's happened to me a lot lately, is the absolute overuse of the word exclusive and people pitching an exclusive story. Oh, this other place is also going to cover it, or they had another thing, but they're not a competitor. An exclusive story is something that we're running either only or first. And so I think just, and I think that's a pet peeve because it goes along with that same vibe of not being authentic. It's kind of, you know, be upfront about what the story is, why you're offering it. That story that I was talking about earlier with the story on 3 women in design was pitched as exclusive. And I said, you know, what's exclusive about this story? And they said, we're not offering this story to anyone else. And it's like, well, this is just a story on 3 women. Like, I could reach out to those 3 women on my own, and it wouldn't be through this. So that's not really kind of that exclusive. It's not something that you have to offer.
Right.
So I think, yeah, that word now I've become very cautious of, which is too bad. Because when it really is an exclusive story, we want it to be an exclusive story, but we don't want to say exclusive and then see that, you know, like Vogue ran it the day before, and then someone says, well, oh, but I didn't know they're a competitor.
Right. Okay. So what is your process for vetting pitches?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I have to say at this point, I do think it's more of, I don't even know that it's a process. It's more that I kind of look at it and I know if it's a good story or not. Although I will say, I think things kind of happen in 2 ways. Like either, especially working on news, either it's, this is a cool thing that's happening, is it a fit for us or not? It's a fit for us if it's newsworthy, it's people we care about, it's groundbreaking in some way, different, and then yes. And then if it's not, then no. But then the other thing is that there are sometimes, you know, things that are maybe more long lead in that, I don't know if this is a fit at the moment, but let me keep it in mind, and maybe like a month later, I'm gonna follow up and say, oh, we realized that, you know, this type of tile that you pitched, now we've seen in 4 different places, so we wanna do a larger story on that. And so in that way, then it becomes this longer kind of thing that we're keeping in the back of our mind and following up on later.
Okay, so I mean, it's literally, you've got the things in mind you want, and that's kind of automatically.
I know. I have to say, I think maybe a print editor would be better to say that. Like working on print, it's a lot more. There's a lot more that goes into it, because I think, you know, you see, does it look like it could be a fit, and then it's taking it to the meeting and seeing if it fits in with the theme of the magazine or with the other things in the magazine. On digital, it's pretty quick, and we will. Also, the one thing that we do is obviously we have different kind of verticals on the website, so it's always making sure, you know, kind of looking at everything we're doing, making sure there's not overlap with something else, and making sure like it fits, figuring out how we're going to package it in a way that makes sense for where it lives on the site. But in terms of like, is it a yes or is it a no, it's usually pretty quick, and then the process from there is just how is it going to be presented and packaged.
Right. So I know you have great relationships with a lot of PR professionals and designers. So you get a lot of personal pitches. What other sources do you use, or do you, for instance, The Wire or any of those services?
So I sometimes will look at HFN, the kind of more, you know, super B2B publications to see things that are more kind of industry news. That said, other than that, once things are kind of out in the world, I think we're maybe less interested unless it's this really breaking news story that we would never be the first to publish, like, you know, even something like a company filing for bankruptcy, that's larger public news. Other than that, you know, we like to kind of be ahead of it a little more. So once something's out in the world, we maybe aren't gonna cover it unless we're gonna do kind of our own take on it. I think one of, honestly, my best sources where I look for things now is Instagram, because there's so many creative people sharing things on Instagram, or where they're going, what they're doing, what's new, and that's a great source because you're seeing it, you know, kind of as it's happening. And then I'm constantly like direct messaging people on Instagram or saving things there.
Yeah, like a visual candy store.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So what is one piece of advice that you would share with PR professionals?
I feel like I keep saying it, but really, like, do your research. Yeah, and know and I have to say, I also really appreciate, you know, I have several times been in meetings with PR people, and they'll show several things and then say, we know this isn't a fit for you, but here if you want to look, that are honest. Or even sometimes when people say, I don't know if this is a fit, but it's really important to us, this client, at least, you know, the honesty and being upfront. If you need to say, I know this might be a stretch, but I'm hoping we can work it in some way because XYZ. I'd rather hear that than have it try to be kind of passed off for something. Yeah.
Again, transparency.
So I think transparency, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna have a little fun.
Okay.
So we're gonna do.
Should I have a sip of my wine now? It's fun time.
I think I will too.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good.
Few this with us.
Let's do it.
Mountain or beach?
Beach.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Big or small?
Big dogs or small dogs? Just general big or small? I'd say big. I'm not a huge
Excellent.
pet person, which probably like makes me sound like a sociopath, but I'm not.
No, you know
I'm
what?
just
You
kind
like
of
dogs. I like dogs.
I like
It's all good.
cleanliness. I like
Okay.
dogs outside the house.
You would not like my German Shepherd. Lots of hair everywhere. Bullet points or paragraphs?
Bullet points in a pitch, bullet points.
Okay.
In a story, paragraphs.
Excellent. That's the editorial
Great.
side in you. Text or phone call?
Phone call.
And you're a millennial.
I am.
Whoa.
For business, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Surf or turf?
Turf.
Morning bird or night owl?
Work-wise, morning bird. I think I get more done between 9 and 10 every day than like noon and 6.
Okay. And then now tell me something about you that people would be surprised to know.
Oh my gosh, that's a hard one. I don't know that I'm not surprising. Something that people would be surprised to know. This is always such a hard question because I feel like everything you think about are things that aren't surprising because it's like things that you talk
Right.
about.
Okay, let me ask you a different one. If you come back to it, if you figure one out, let me know.
Okay.
Okay. So,
keep it in the back of my mind.
what's your current guilty pleasure?
My current guilty pleasure? Well, I could talk about, I have a lot of food-wise guilty pleasures, although I don't think food should be guilty at all, but I love to
agree
cook,
with
and
you
my
there.
roommates love to cook. Also, I have one roommate who's recently gotten on a kick of making ice cream almost every day, so that's a good guilty pleasure. And I've just kind of started to get into making bread, which is another food guilty pleasure, I guess, although I don't feel very guilty about it.
Excellent. I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. And then one last question, which
Okay.
is really the most important of all. Whiskey, wine, or water?
If it's an average night, wine. If it's a special occasion or been a rough day, whiskey.
All right. Well, this is a special day, but we're going with
Special
wine.
day. Cheers.